No, you didn't get canceled. A bunch of people unsubscribed from you. Oh, poor baby. Like, that's not cancellation. If I don't want to follow you because you have bad takes, I'm not canceling you. I'm just saying I don't listen to your bullshit anymore. That's not canceling. Oh, I got threats by mean people. Oh, you were on the internet and you got threatened. Oh my goodness. Is it a day ending in Y? Okay, we're going to pick it right up and see where we go from here, guys. It's bound to get more interesting, not less.
I think that insofar as he's got a worldview, he might be absorbing it from other people who are constructing these.
He's a Buchananite paleoconservative. No, let me try a different direction. Well, maybe we come back to Tucker Carlson, maybe we don't. Do you agree that there was a phenomenon 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever years ago, called the alt-right? Was that a phenomenon? And
well, let me just... It wasn't what the mainstream media was calling it.
No, of course it was not.
It was a phenomenon.
The mainstream media destroyed the term. Yeah. And they applied it to you, they applied it to your grandma, they applied it to rocks, they applied it to everything that they didn't like.
Anything they didn't like was put in the category. Which
I was alt-right years and years ago when I was still openly screaming that I was left. So, and you were as well.
Of course.
But was there an alt-right?
Yeah. I think.
Okay, so immediately we can see the problem. So it might be, James, the reason why the term got destroyed was because it was never a good term to describe the phenomena that it was trying to describe. Much like what you've done here, which you just described, only instead of saying woke right, it's alt-right. Woke right, alt-right. Hey, they both have the same word in them. Huh. That might be a hint. Now, mightn't it? It seems like the right is always the boogeyman, and you're just putting a modifier on the word right every time when you need a boogeyman, so that you can exclude some people that you don't want to be on the right, and other people you can put in the bad right bucket. Okay, that's a good indication that you're the bad guys. I'm just like, I don't know what else to tell these people. Like, you are the bad guys. You're the people doing the thing that you're accusing other people of doing. No one else is doing that thing, by the way. So just saying, this is not a good look. But I can't wait to hear their definition of alt-right.
Which called itself the alt-right, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think so.
And they were kind of pro-masculine, a little patriarchy on that side, and they, Jared Taylor is the openly white supremacist guy who was writing for them.
Yeah, and it had a culture. Pepe the Frog,
that's right,
was a funny and ironic portrayal of self in this regard.
And so
innocent.
What are they talking about? Of self? Pepe the Frog came out of 4chan. 4chan is not a bastion of conservative right-leaning ideas or right-leaning ideas or ordered ideas or really much of anything. I don't know what these people are talking about. Like, they're not Nazis. Although they won't prevent Nazis from hanging out there because, like you guys, they're leftists. Like, my goodness. Hitler was a communist before he was a fascist. I don't know what else to say. This is getting worse. I didn't think it could.
Groypers at that stage.
You do know what alt stood for, right? It's an abbreviation.
Well, alternate.
Yes, that's right. And what makes it alternate? What is it alternate to, and in what way is it an alternative?
It was, well, I mean, it's interesting because...
Oh, alternative. Oh, what an interesting, like, I wouldn't have gone there, but sure. Okay. So alternative to right. So if it's an alternative to right, then it's not the right, is it? Well, weird. It's like we resolved it just by using the English language and saying alt-right is not an identification of a group. It's an identification against the right. I agree. The problem is these guys have exactly two categories, left and right. They haven't come up with any others. And fair enough. Like, I get that. They're stuck in the political frame. You only have two categories in the political frame, left and right, Democrat, Republican. What do you want to call it? You still only have two. Right? So what would the alternative to the right be? It's still the left. Like, I don't, like, you would think this would be really easy to figure out, but not for these geniuses.
I think there's actually a lot in the term, I would put progressivism against conservatism. I think you need to figure out which things to conserve and which things require change, and we're always in that dynamic. But the alt-right was a non-stodgy conservatism. It was modern, it was young, it had a sense of humor. There was nothing dusty or gray about it, right?
So it wasn't conserving anything, and it wasn't old, it was modern. Modern, by the way, is actually a synonym for progressivism, the way it's being used. I don't know what to tell you, right, about your definitions, but they don't work as a way to convey concepts from one human being to another. In other words, you're not making any sense at all, because what you're saying is irrationally illogical and completely unreasonable, right? Oh, they weren't stodgy, so they were the alternative to conservative is the left. This is so sad. Like, why is this hard? Why is he making this hard on himself? They could stop talking in binaries. They could stop doing that, I guess. But then they'd have to define two more boundaries. And they can't even define one boundary. They can't define the boundary between left and right. All they can do is say alt or woke and put it in front of right and then make that an identification. That's not an identification of. That's an identification against, which means it's all the things that aren't the thing. They can't even start with a definition of right. Like, why don't you start there? So you can't say alternative to right without defining right, because now you're really not saying anything. First, you have to tell me who the right is. So I guess stodgy. I guess everybody who's stodgy. This is getting worse by the minute. This is awesome. I love this.
It was about, there are some values, we've lost them, let's not be embarrassed about talking about them. And then it had this decidedly nationalistic aspect, which was frightening. But you had
it's
these
some punk energy. You're playing with the fact that
That's exactly right. Yeah. It was punk conservatism.
Was it generally, in your opinion, a problem, at least something worth keeping an eye on?
Okay, it was punk. Okay, punks are not nationalists. Like, you can't just slap these things together, guys. Like, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're not saying anything. You can't be punk and be a nationalist. Punks are against order. Like, they say that they are. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You can go up the term all you want, but now you're not making any sense. Like, this is ridiculous. Is it worth keeping an eye on? You haven't even defined it. You've just defined what you say it isn't. Stodgy. And then all the other terms you use to describe it describe the left. I don't understand why they're not, it's not registering in their heads. Oh, we just described us. Yeah, you did. You are the alt-right. That's actually correct. Look, unbelievable. This scary nationalism. What's so scary about nationalism? I don't understand. You're going to have to explain it to me, right? Because they're never going to explain that. Because again, they'd have to draw boundaries, and they're just not prepared to draw boundaries.
Certainly the latter.
Certainly the latter. Okay. And we all agree that the term was abused by both the left and the media and so on. That's just to re-clarify. That's mostly for the audience.
If I was alt-right, that term didn't mean a damn
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, your dog was alt-right too.
Okay. So notice, right, that James started with, do you think the alt-right's a thing? Right. And then said, well, they destroyed the term. Right. And then what Bret just said was, well, then the term doesn't mean anything. Okay, then why are we still using it if it doesn't mean anything? That's a good question. Why are we still? Why can't they identify the thing that they're talking about? And the only, quote, bad thing they've talked about is nationalism. Being a punk isn't bad, certainly not to these guys, because they're kind of punks, actually. Like, I really, it's straining my head to figure out why they can't understand that they're basically word salading everything at this point. Okay, so they agree there's a thing, they agree the label's bad, and they agree they can't define it beyond scary nationalism, punk, modern, whatever, which are all terms to describe the left. Again, like Hitler was a leftist. I don't know what to tell you. Communism is a nationalist thing. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with these guys. I really don't. You got to wonder. And they're in public and they're talking about this. It's not good. It's not good. This is not good. This is not good for society. I mean that technically. I'm laughing a little because I'm nervous that we let people like this do this unregulated. Because I don't think we should. I'm sorry, but I don't think people like this should be word salading everything like this and just not being able to draw any kind of boundary around anything. I mean, I'm sure there's something they're afraid of, but like so far, it's punk. It's nationalist punk, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is they're identifying. And it's not like I don't believe them. I believe that they're seeing something. The question is why, if they're seeing something, can they not just describe it in terms that don't already have terms that fit the description better? Because that's what this is all about. This is about what term fits this description the best. And because they're stuck in a binary, it's not left and it's not right. Fair enough. Have you thought about upgrading your thinking instead of trying to fit it into a thing it's never going to fit into? I mean, this is square peg, round hole stuff at this point.
By virtue of being your dog. And so, what if I put on the table that my conclusion after now a decade of studying woke in its native environment on the left, reading Allison Bailey talk about the difference between critical thinking and critical theory, for example, in great detail, is that what made the alt-right alt was that it's woke in its own nationalistic way, which is a local tribe versus the universal dichotomous or bipolar tribe of communism. It is the reaction that I was talking about earlier, but now not in a modernistic, militaristic form that you would have seen in the 20th century, but in the postmodern context, where if we take Jordan Peterson's woke is postmodern neo-Marxism, and we say there's this postmodern neo-fascism, at least an element within the alt-right, why not call that woke right if that's the only thing different?
Well,
Okay, so a number of interesting things happen here, right? So note that James said, studying wokeness in its native environment on the left. That's because it's a leftist ideology. That's correct. And it doesn't apply to people on the right ever because it only applies to the left. Like, as he's admitted here, which is a little weird. Again, they're not seeing the connection between the things they're saying, right? And then he says, well, Jordan Peterson, and you could have postmodern neo-Marxism, and therefore you could have postmodern neo-fascism. Fascism comes from Marxism, bro. There's actually very little difference. And these other characterizations, he must not have read the history. He must not have read Mussolini's stuff. Like, bro, just read the books. They're pretty clear about this. Carl Benjamin has a whole video on this. It was great. I don't remember the name. It was probably 5 years ago now. But he basically goes over this. He says, look, the only difference between communism and fascism is that fascism just admits flat out everything for the state. All sacrifice goes to the state. And communism just lies about that. Yeah, Marxism just lies about that. Now, to be fair to Marx, he probably doesn't realize that's the result of what he's talking about because the guy's stupid. Like, I mean that technically. Like, he's just dumb. Okay, Marx is retarded. Got it. Also, like, fascism is honest socialism. Right. That's what Carl Benjamin said. That is correct. Why doesn't James know this? He thinks they're two different things. And then, well, we can apply neo to this, so we can apply neo to that. That's not how that works, dude. And invoking Jordan Peterson, shame on you. Shame on you. The great man? Really? You're not worthy of hearing his thoughts, sir, because you're stupid. You're probably as dumb as Karl Marx. At this point, it's not making any sense. You can't just say, well, this formula, and I'll apply it here, and get something sensible every time. That's not how the world works. And since fascism is just honest Marxism, like, what are you saying? You're not saying anything at all. Sorry, you're identifying the leftism that was always there that Jordan Peterson identified, because you're not smarter than Jordan Peterson. So there you go. You haven't read any of the stuff, apparently, and you haven't engaged with guys like Carl Benjamin, who, I got my issues with Carl, but I really like Carl, but I got my issues with him. He's still, not there yet, we'll say, but like, what great work. Like, he did the homework, he read the stuff, he figured it out, and he communicates it excellently. Unlike James, who can't communicate anything that makes any sense at all. In its native form, leftist. Okay, dude, then wokeism is leftism, sure, or a subtype of it or something. Absolutely, then there's no such thing as woke right. Now we're done. We're done, dude. By your own system, we're done. Logically, you can't be consistent anymore by using the term woke right. It's a logical inconsistency from this point forward, if it wasn't already, which I contend that it was.
I don't see those elements being dominant within whatever this space is.
Maybe it's helpful to tell the story of why I started using the term, which I did not create, by the way. I'm not the progenitor of the term woke right.
Yeah,
the first first appearance in print that I know of, I'm sure it was somewhere else, was in an article written by a preacher named Kevin DeYoung, writing in the Gospel Coalition, reviewing the book I mentioned by Stephen Wolfe earlier as a book review for the case for Christian nationalism. And he called his review The Rise of Right-Wing Wokeism, and described it in those terms by saying, the same kinds of intolerance, the cancel culture, the victimhood, the identity politics at the heart of it, and went through Stephen's book and showed in great detail, which is 500 pages I don't necessarily recommend you get into, but he shows in great detail why he thinks calling it a mirror image of woke is correct.
Neil Shenvi is good on this.
Okay. I got to explain something. So, in the beginning, the first 3 or 4 people that James identified as woke right were Christian nationalists. We already have a label for that. Like it or hate it or whatever. Okay. I am very skeptical that these qualities that they're identifying, like cancel culture, which is another term that now means nothing. It seems to me like you got fired. Maybe you should have gotten fired. Maybe you're an incompetent moron. Maybe you were hired into a job you can't handle. Maybe there was a change of management and a new direction and you're no longer needed. When is it cancel culture and when is it not? Oh, okay. So when you identify cancel culture with wokeness and you fail to define cancel culture, and what makes getting fired publicly cultural? I don't understand. Right. See, this is like the secondhand sneakiness, right? We didn't define cancel culture. And no one's ever going to be able to do that, is my suspicion. I mean, I could probably do it, but I'm not gonna. I'll let the leftists drown in their own idiocy. I'm okay with that. Consequences are real. I'm fine if people choose them. Choose all the consequences you want. I'll hang out here. So this is the sneaky backdoor. Oh, he identified cancel culture. Did he? Or did he say, like, incompetent people who aren't doing a good job need to be fired? Because that's not woke. That's reasonable. It's also meritocratic, which, the left loves to claim meritocracy. They are the least meritocratic people on the planet, mostly because most of them are lazy or incompetent or both. And so they don't want a meritocratic system because they're not getting in. That's just the bottom line. And a lot of what people call culture wars is that. It's people who aren't up to the task, not getting the task. Well, because you're not up to it, dude. Or getting the task, being not up to it, and then being let go because they're not good. I mean, we're experiencing that with Hollywood now. We're experiencing it on TV. We've got this brand new TV that, well, it's not brandy new anymore, but it comes with all of these streaming services for free, like on the TV. Not just Google TV, but like the TV manufacturer has their own TV channels. And we were watching something on it, and the cuts are horrible. Like they just cut in commercials so suddenly with no fade and in the wrong place. Like there are commercial cuts in these shows originally, and you're not using them. I don't know why. It seems a little silly, but it's very jarring. And it's actually really bad. And even a show like Magnum PI, which I absolutely love, I can't watch it because the cuts are too terrible. Now, Amazon Prime, they do a much better job. Do they do a great job? It's okay. It's not too bad. But these guys, my goodness, I'd fire all of those people. Is that cancel culture because I want to fire them and I'm not on the left? I mean, I don't understand. Like, where are you drawing that line? I bet they can't. Because so far, they haven't drawn any lines around anything except stodgy. Ooh, stodgy. Definitely.
Neil Shenvi picked up and he was using it. And then some other people were writing about it through late 23, early 24. I didn't call them this. I called them New Right. I specifically when it was Christian nationalists, I called them Christian nationalists. That's what they called themselves. I didn't ever like the term dissident right, so I didn't use it because it wasn't clear to me that that was the great term, but a lot of them use it for themselves. And then what happened to me in September last year.
Hold on. A lot of them use it for themselves? Dissident right? I mean, I guess. All right. Again, those are leftists, right? Who think they're moderates or found out they're moderate leftists or something. And the left left them. And now they're like, well, we don't know how to identify because we only have two categories, but we don't want to be the right. So we're going to identify as the dissident right. That's all that's happening. I promise you that's all that's happening there. You look at the voting records and the things these people say, and they're leftists. They're just leftists. That's all they ever were. All these three guys, leftists. They're all just leftists. This is why I don't like the binary thinking, the binary frame. I'm just trapped in it by these morons because this is moronic. This is a moronic way to talk about the world. Oh, I don't want to be identified with the crazy leftists, but I'm still a leftist, so I don't want to be identified with the conservatives. So I'll just call myself dissident right, so I'm not associated with the leftists anymore because they're all crazy. No, you're still crazy. You're just not as crazy. But crazy is still on the table here, kids.
So 24, this is when I changed my mind and said they're woke. They attempted to cancel me for something completely innocuous.
Who attempted to cancel you? Right. This is going to get interesting, right? Because James is on the left. All of his friends are on the left. The only people in control of any kind of media platforms are leftists. So the only people that could possibly try to cancel you are on the left. I don't know what else to tell you. This really isn't that hard. Conservatives are busy working on farms, in factories, and on equipment. Okay? They're not canceling anybody. They don't even know who you are. They don't see you because they don't watch TV and they don't watch YouTube. I'm sorry. Media and entertainment media in particular. And look, intellectual conversations are largely entertainment media, like it or not. These are not things that conservatives tend to engage in. They're busy working and raising kids.
We got it. I think we've got what's happening here. Can I? If you want to finish, you're on a good
I put out something. It was on the Catholic holiday of Michaelmas, which celebrates Archangel Michael or Saint Michael. And President Trump, famously religious man, put out an image, a famous painting of Archangel Michael slaying the dragon, the Satan, and the prayer, which came from, I think, Leo the 13th, which is a battle prayer. And I said, as I tend to do, this is just part of my research, do you know that the New Age occultists have a different view of Michael? So making this a huge thing in MAGA without adding the clarity that there is an entire occult interpretation of this you might not be aware of is dangerous. And I think somebody put him up to it, and I don't think he knows what it is, but we should be careful with this. And
Okay. How random groups that may or may not be actual groups interpret something. I mean, if this is his standard, we're screwed. Like, no one should say anything publicly. I mean that technically. Do you know how many groups there are, especially in the occult, for example, that interpret things differently? Whoa. It's not a lot of people, granted, but it's a lot of groups. It's a lot of small groups. And they're small, thank goodness. And they're all leftists. Coincidence? You decide. There are no occult rightists. Like, there's no people in the occult on the right. It's good. They're stodgy. So, again, James has outed himself already without realizing it. Honestly, this is sad, right? This is actually sad. Like, dude, did you not hear what you said? Because you outed yourself again. You're talking about leftists. I get that you're talking about leftists. I get that. Also, there's no right in this equation so far. You haven't listed anything on the right at all. Ever. Bret said stodgy, and they're not that. Okay, dude, I agree. I believe you, and I agree. None of these people that you're trying to describe are conservatives. Okay, I'm with you.
the blowback I got was so disproportionate, was so unbelievably insane. Lost thousands of followers. James hates Catholics. James wants to ruin Christians. James is the enemy. Nasty threats, all in my direct message.
I have tripped that.
Okay. Well, when you attack someone's faith, you should probably expect them to fight back. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know why that identifies a group of bad people. What, they bad because you attack their faith? And tried to say, well, you shouldn't celebrate this because some occult group somewhere thinks of it differently? Like, what was his original argument? His original argument doesn't make any sense at all. It's a ridiculous argument to make in the first place. Again, the fact that a group somewhere, an amorphous, unnamed occult group, the occult's a handy term, isn't it? It could mean almost anything. It just basically means not Catholic. That's actually what it means. Maybe not Anglo-Cathodox or something, but that's all occult means, guys. I don't know what to tell you. In this context, the way he's using it, yeah, all the people who don't agree with your religion have different interpretation of your religion. Really genius. Thanks. Let me write that down. All the people that don't believe my religion have a different interpretation of my religious stuff. It's okay. Well, I'm glad we settled that. And you get canceled. Really? Did you get canceled? No, you didn't get canceled. A bunch of people unsubscribed from you. Oh, poor baby. Like, that's not cancellation. If I don't want to follow you because you have bad takes, I'm not canceling you. I'm just saying I don't listen to your bullshit anymore. That's not canceling. Oh, I got threats by mean people. Oh, you were on the internet and you got threatened. Oh my goodness. Is it a day ending in Y? What? Oh my, another coincidence. Like, what are you saying? This is lunacy. This is, well, he hurt my feelings. He's a woke right meanie. But grow up, bro. Like, you're going to be on the internet. You're going to have tougher skin than that.
That tripwire too.
And so I was like, this is not like James said something stupid or uncomfortable.
Yes, it is. Bret tripped over that too. You don't insult people's religions. Don't say you shouldn't be practicing your religion in public because other people will interpret it differently. Yeah, well, that's a good life tip. Maybe you shouldn't do that. And maybe people not subscribing to you anymore, right? Unsubscribing from your Twitter or whatever is just a little signal so that you don't have to be shut up later by cancellation. Maybe that's like the third way. Agree, cancel, or just quietly go away, which wouldn't be cancellation still. So he's made a claim. He hasn't backed it up with evidence. All the evidence he's given is that he wasn't canceled by anybody at all. And that wasn't even tried because that's not what he's describing. No one knew this until he blabbered it all over the internet on Twitter. What's he complaining about? And this is a big deal. And Bret goes, people were mean to me too because I insulted their religion and said, you shouldn't be saying that in public because other people will interpret it badly. Is this just Protestants being Protestants? Because that's all I hear.
I got 30 times the blowback that I should have.
You got religious.
Oh, that he should have. Oh, see, there's a standard for blowback. I'm so glad. Now we have a standard for how much blowback you should get when you insult someone's religion. Oh, good. I wonder what that standard is. Oh, yeah. All I know is that whatever happened to him, which I didn't hear about except by his tweets, should be a hint, that was 30 times too much blowback to tell somebody, well, you're going to be careful when you're talking about your religion here and making your prayers with your symbols because there's groups out there, we'll call them the occult, and they'll misinterpret it. Well, okay, bro. I don't know if unsubscribing from your Twitter is blowback, but I don't know what you expected. Not too long ago, you would have been burned at the stake, which, I'm kind of thinking like, they might have been on to something. Just saying.
Fervor back
But
for
not
having
just religious. I understand that some Catholics, first of all, might have misunderstood it, but I also watched the phenomenon play out, where I watched people who are influencers take what I said, change it into something I didn't say, and then that's the only thing I said.
So can I
Okay, so influencers took what you said, changed it to something you didn't say, and then made it the only thing you say. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? You guys, you gotta help me out. Oh, wait. I know. That sounds like being on the internet. That happens to me twice a week, dude. Like, really grow up. My goodness. Somebody took something that I said and changed it to something I didn't say. And then that was the only thing you're on the freaking internet. You took something somebody said or posted, changed it into something else. By the way, these other groups interpret it this way, right? You're changing what he said, changing the meaning behind the symbolism of the prayer and the post, and changing it into something else. So you did that too, dude. So I don't know what to tell you, but like you should not be on the internet. That's for sure. Like you just need to not be there anymore. Like if that's your main concern, then you can't be anywhere near social media of any kind. Not electronic. Like there's no way. You're not going to make it. Clearly, you're not going to make it. I've had days where that's happened to me 8 times by different people. This is so normal on the internet that complaining about it seems beyond the pale to me. Like completely ridiculous. It's remarkable. So, and you'll notice too, what's the frame? Me. I, the individual, has been violated in the following ways according to my own judgment, because I know exactly how much blowback is appropriate. Does anybody else ever factor into his worldview? Because so far, his worldview seems to contain James, and James, and almost no one else. He's not even listening to these two. Not that that's necessarily easy, but it is what it is.
Frame what I think's going on here.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the problem. The center of the problem is that Twitter's come a bit of a hellhole. There's Groypers. There's a lot of awful behavior there now,
stuff.
and it's gone. It's
Groypers,
gone
by the way,
downhill.
are a visible group that are woke right. The Groypers are unambiguous.
Yeah.
But I agree about the
Groypers.
The Groypers are unambiguously woke. Right. Okay. So again, like with Christian nationalism, we already have a term for that. If you want to say Groypers bad, say Groypers bad. I really don't care. Don't give it another term. There's no reason to keep adding terms on and saying Christian nationalism is really woke right and Groypers are really woke right. We already have terms for them and there's no overlap between those groups. So, I mean, you'll put them in the same bucket because you're stupid, but also that's because you're stupid. That's not because there's a there. And this is the problem with people who can't draw boundaries with things, who can't define terms, right? This is the problem with them. They're incapable of drawing boundaries. And so everything blends into everything else. And then they can just throw words around willy-nilly and word salad their way into sounding smart, which is exactly what they're trying to do here. Now, I don't think they're conscious of it because, I mean, all right, let me see. There's 3 people. Are there 4 neurons there? And then the one with 2 neurons is the one talking, maybe? I don't know. I mean, really, guys, like, yeah, I hate to be mean about it, but also this is a little silly. Like, these guys are, I don't know what the hell they're doing. I like, there's no self-correction here whatsoever at all. There should be some self-correction. Like, Mike should be correcting. He's trying to do a little bit at a very high level, but when something obviously irrational or illogical or unreasonable is said, no one's batting an eyelash. There's no self-correction with these people, right? Because they're too winsome. They're too ecumenical. They're too, well, let's get along. Let's try to work it out. Like, let's not try to work it out. Let's try to conform to something that is reasonable instead. Something we'll say outside of the 3 of you. See, this is the problem with individualism. Individualism fundamentally has to reject reality. Because in individualism, you're the center of the world revolves around you. And all 3 of these guys think the world revolves around them. And then they're trying to get together and cooperate, and fair enough. But they're willing to throw everything out that isn't the person around them or people around them in order to make it work, which means truth is the first thing to go. Right along with logic, reason, and rationality. Those things are out the window. Because if you had those things, you'd have to conform to reality. And we can't have that. Because in the world of individuals, there is no reality. There's just our opinion, our fantasy. And that really is the pattern here. I hope you can see it. But like, once you see it that way, here's the 3 individuals. And they don't care about truth. They don't care about sounding logical or communicating a coherent message. They're not interested in that. They just want to find common ground among the 3 of them. They don't care about the audience at all. They don't care how ridiculous they sound. They don't even care enough to dress up and look nice. They don't care about you. Why should you care what they have to say?
Groypers are an issue. So what's happened here is there's an intellectual project. Jim sees something, and when you're on this intellectual project, you need to be quite precise about where you're pointing it. But there's the Twitter kind of Twitter sphere personal problem that's going on here, where people are coming after you, and I think that you've come into this kind of militant almost mode, and you're shooting wildly at.
Sort of.
I come in and I haven't seen all this stuff that's happened to you. When I speak to you personally, you're telling me all this horrible stuff is going on. I'm like, of course, that's the reason he's acting this way. But
Not
if I
just
look at
horrible
your
stuff.
tweet thread, I'm
Okay, so Mike again with the best take. It's like, this is amazing. The smartest guy here is still Mike Nayna. This is awesome. These two are lost. Mike sees it very clearly. I wish we could upgrade him by a few IQ points. So maybe Mike's got 3 neurons all the time and the other 2 are sharing 3 neurons or something. I don't know. Mike is on it, right? Oh, you've gotten personal attack and you've gotten militant about it. Oh, it's the militant aspect that they're identifying as woke right. That's what they're identifying as woke right. Right? And so they don't want to identify the militant aspect with leftism because everybody knows that order is on the right and leftists are chaos monkeys. Okay, that's really low resolution and inaccurate because again, you're in 2 buckets and the world is not binary. The world is not digital. It's not 0 or 1, right? Sorry. But I understand what happened. I can see the low resolution picture now. And Mike identifies it. Oh, you're upset. And that makes you militant. Yes. And so the accusation, which I have heard thrown around before by people who watched this video before me, was that they are the thing they're accusing others of. Well, there's Mike accusing James quite clearly of being what he's describing as woke. I think that's correct. I think that's exactly correct. When you're stuck in a binary, you'll become the thing you hate because a binary is not representative of a whole world because a whole world would integrate the 2 parts. It's the third thing. Weird. And so it's almost like Pythagoras was right about triangles. And so what you end up with is you end up with this situation where, they're the thing they pretend to hate. Yeah. So if you want to know how people are, look at what they hate. That's what they are. Common formula, by the way, the gay lobby uses all the time. Oh, the reason why he wants gay people killed is because he's gay himself secretly. They said this all the time. And there's a kernel of truth to things like that. Usually they were exaggerating like the degree to which people like didn't like them or something. But they're right in that often the people who are most vociferously against certain types of behavior, it's because they see that in themselves, and that's the part of themselves they hate the most. Well-known psychological phenomena. It's all over the psychological literature, by the way. It's been researched 6 ways to Sunday. Why no one ever talks about this, I will never know. I think it's intellectually dishonest and possibly criminally negligent to leave out little details like that aren't so little. But hey, I don't run the world.
I'm like, what the fuck
Exactly
is he
the
talking
same
about here?
horrible stuff that the left did to me. First, when we did the grievance studies. Second, when I said I was going to
But
vote
it's
for
not one
Trump.
thing. It's just these.
Wait,
you
wait.
can't take 1,000 people and say, hey, this is one single entity. It's,
You're absolutely right about this. And this phenomenon, we are evolved critters.
Yeah.
However that happened.
That's fascinating, by the way. So Bret agrees. Bret, why didn't you see this and stop it? He only sees it after it's pointed out to him. And then he says, we're evolved creatures. I don't know what that means, honestly. I have no idea. And then he says, however that happened. There's a tell right there for evolution really doesn't tell you much, does it? Now it's more of a statement of how things progress from one thing into another. And as Darwin conceived of it, although why these people don't realize that or don't talk about that, I honestly, it blows my mind. It's how we understand the ontology of biology. That's it. That's it. Biological ontology, Darwin, evolution. Sure, absolutely. That's a justification for the ontology that we use for biological creatures. Fair enough. I didn't do anything else, by the way. 0 other things. Just saying. Doesn't explain anything, doesn't predict anything. It's just a justification for how you divide up the things in the category of biology.
As evolved critters, we make a natural assumption about what somebody else who was present saw, because you can make that assumption. I know what your experience of this room is like. I can teleport that far and imagine, right?
No, you can't. You might get close enough that it doesn't matter in certain ways, but obviously, again, Bret hasn't seen any of the things Mike's pointed out before Mike's pointed them out. So I don't know, man. You guys aren't even having the same experience in the same room, in the same conversation. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or that's unusual. I think that's a Tuesday, but like that makes Bret's statements false. Just pointing that out because this guy likes to do this with the truth claims that he can't back up because he's wrong.
We come in and we see, you know, James like
Wow.
swiping at
Yeah.
ghosts and things that just at phantoms, and it's like, what the heck is going on?
Yes.
And we have no idea what's been targeted at him. And part of what's been targeted at him is undoubtedly organic, and part of it is probably bot amplifiers, and something may involve a program with his name on the file folder that says how we're going to drive James crazy. We don't know what the mixture is, and that means that's where I feel like I lost track, because this is very
too.
personal to you in a way we can't intuit what happened.
Well,
Oh, I thought you could intuit, Bret. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point, right? Like, but again, this is the individualism. And this is the problem with individualism. Individuals can't get together because you can't have the same experience as someone else, even in the same room at the same time, in the same conversation. Fair enough. Like, okay, that's the world we live in. It's constrained. I get that. We already knew that. I don't know why people keep rehashing it, but they do. That's fine. Whatever. Right. But then what that means is that James is projecting his personal experience. And I like Bret's point here a lot, actually. Like, a bunch of things happened. And the thing is, no one knows what they are. James doesn't know what they are. James doesn't know if there's a bot campaign against him. There might be. I don't know. Is there a file folder with an automated system with James' name on it? There could be, man. Like, I know people who have done that. Like, I physically, personally have met those people. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, I do this, and I run this script. And, like, this is way before AI, by the way. You don't need AI to do anything like this. It is just not necessary. And I would argue it's not hard to spot. Then again, I see patterns. Other people are like, oh, it's impossible to spot bots. I'm like, oh, it's impossible for you, maybe, but the rest of us know how. But it's a good point, right? But that makes it deeply personal. And that means the definition is deeply personal, which means, and this is the problem with individualism, it means that the definition of woke right only has, what would you call it? A pull for James. And that's really the point that Bret's making here, right? It only has an impact for James. It doesn't have an impact on the rest of us because we weren't fake canceled by it, because what he described is still not cancellation, even though he said they canceled him. It didn't happen. Like, you're still there. I mean, had they canceled you, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So we wouldn't have to listen to you anymore. And that would be wonderful. So I'm kind of like, this cancellation thing, there might be something to it.
Well, I mean, again, I'm more interested in the pattern than the personal. And at this point, I was more confused than hurt or angry. But then the phone calls started from people that had booked me. This was in September. I had speaking engagements booked out through the end of the year still last year. And so I started getting the phone calls. I'm getting a lot of pressure saying you hate Christians. People are calling, people are asking and saying, we shouldn't have you. Can you explain yourself?
Right.
I start getting the phone calls. Some things did cancel me. Some things didn't. Some organizations had me, and it turned into a giant struggle session in their organization over whether I should be there or not. And the fallout was bad for those organizations.
So I want to.
Okay. So you attacked Saint Michael in one of his prayers. And oddly, people who identify as Christian no longer wanted to have you on. Really? I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. Shocked. This is my shocked face. Really? So you stepped in it with a stupid thing that didn't need to be said and didn't serve any purpose, or didn't serve any positive purpose. It's almost as though you were possessed by a spirit or something to do something really stupid. And then there were consequences for that. because the real world, not the world of the individual, where I've got a speaking engagement with you, and now you have to let me speak, because free speech, which isn't how free speech works at all, by the way, and that didn't happen. So, but now that I've, basically, stuck my foot in a bear trap, I want you to treat me like I'm not a wounded animal. Okay, that's not how that works. The real world, this is what I was saying about individualism. See, I knew it was going to come up. I knew it. It always does, right? In the real world, your actions have consequences. Welcome to consequences, James. Attack someone's religion, they don't want to talk to you anymore. Seems reasonable to me. I don't want to talk to them ever. So, fair.
Then the invitations disappeared.
Yep.
Gone.
Now, here's the
all
thing.
of them.
Now you're talking my language, because if you ask me, the thing that I've been waiting for you to say, right, when I hear you defining woke right, and then I can't follow your definition, there's a reason. And it's because I know that there is an element that is probably not sufficient for the term woke, in my opinion, but it is definitely necessary, and it is cancellation. Okay?
Cancellation.
It is the desire to silence.
Okay. That's not cancellation, and that's not silencing people. Okay. That's consequences for being stupid and basically insulting people's religion, saying, oh, no, you shouldn't put that out in public because other people are going to interpret it wrong on the internet. This is a dumb thing to say on any day about anything ever. Okay. Now, if your income is wrapped up in that, then you're an idiot. And we already knew you're an idiot because you made that idiotic mistake. So now you're just twice as much of an idiot. Why should you lash out at people because you're the moron? I don't think that's appropriate. It's impolite, if nothing else. Like, so far, he's just describing something he did to himself for no reason that served no purpose and could not have ever served any purpose. And now he's upset at the results of his own stupid actions. He doesn't want to take any responsibility at all for doing something stupid. And then they took away his ability to talk to small groups of people that no one's ever going to see. Oh no, I'm so sad for him. Like, get a real job. Like, I don't even know what to tell you.
The purge and the silencing, that's right.
But here's
So the right wing, go on.
But here's the problem. Tucker Carlson isn't canceling people.
Is it that he's not denouncing? Is it that the right have their
All
own
I'm saying with
purple-haired
Tucker,
goblins
you
now or
needed a
something?
name that you know, other than Nick
But
Fuentes.
that's my point, is
right?
I don't think it's in the category.
And I say that I don't think he's adopted the cancellation tactics necessarily, but I think he's adopted the epistemology.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So guess what, guys? If you were paying attention, fair enough. If you're not, that's why I'm doing this. Right? I'm doing this because it's very hard to keep track of what they're saying. Cancellation was the only thing so far that they've identified as being woke. So Tucker Carlson doesn't have the cancellation package, as though it's some software that you install as part of your woke right initiation or your boot up sequence. Like, what are you talking about? People aren't computers. So, all right, James, so far, by your definition, Tucker Carlson's still not woke right. Congratulations. What is wrong with this guy? Like, seriously, like, what's wrong? Like, can we get him help? Is there a clinician that would take him? Would it be fair to do that to somebody? Because this is hardcore. This is just bizarre. Right? And you'll notice, right? So what's revealed is Bret's highest value is free speech. Right? Under the leftist definition of free speech, which I should be able to talk to any audience I want, whenever, about whatever I want, no matter what I say, because free speech, right? Which has nothing to do with the United States of America's definition of free speech, which is really just the right to criticize the government in public. No, really, that's all it is. It actually, that's the whole thing. It's actually the whole thing, right? Bret doesn't know that because Bret's a leftist and he's a little stupid, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I like the guy, but also a little dumb. And so he's revealing his highest value. And he's like, well, as long as they're not doing that, I don't care. Fair enough. I mean, that's fine. Everyone's got a highest value. His highest value seems to be like, as long as they'll let me talk to them, and generally let people talk to them, right? And the problem with this is that this is what's called sample bias in data science, right? All the people that get turned down for Tucker, you just never hear about them. Like if I had applied to talk to Tucker on his program and like they said, who the hell are you? No. They wouldn't know that. And so someone's always getting canceled by that definition. Someone's free speech is being impinged on all the time. It's just that they don't know about those people and they don't care about those people. And of course, that has to be the case because the number of people that want to talk to Tucker Carlson outstrips the amount of time he has to be a human on the planet. I can guarantee you that. So I'm sure he has several times more requests for conversations than he's actually having. So now is he woke, right? These standards are ridiculous. They're insane. They're impossible. And because whenever you get, because I've done this for decades, I've had these conversations. This is why I have an advantage. Like I've already been through all this many, many times with many, many people, smarter people than these clowns. Let me tell you that. Although low bar, fair enough. Look, there's a limit to time. So you have to filter. What they do is they say, oh, well, the filter should be, right? And they'll just make up off the top of their head a filter that lets them through and filters out all the people they don't like. And maybe different filters are different. Oh, well, you want somebody who has, and this is a common one that they use. Well, you want somebody that has something important to say. Oh, okay. And how do you determine that if you haven't talked to them for I see. Right? Oh, well, no, you want somebody with a proven track record of being a good thinker. Well, that leaves Bret out. I'm sorry, but also, come on, dude. Right? Oh, maybe number of followers, but no, that's not right because the Groypers have a lot of followers. Right. Like none of these measures work. None of them. And of course, they don't want to face that because it's a problem science can't solve, technically speaking. Well known, by the way, but whatever. They don't know that because I don't know why people go to college if you're not going to learn these sorts of things. But apparently, they'll just give anybody a degree nowadays. It's really sad. And so this is the problem: is that their definitions of who should get in and who should get out are arbitrary, and so they're operating in a false frame. Like, oh, well, Tucker Carlson will listen to anybody, and therefore he's okay. Oh, but he didn't listen to me, and therefore he cancels people. And since he cancels people, he's woke, right? And then Bret goes, yeah, but he doesn't cancel me, and therefore he's not. Like, see how the individualism leads to this division and dissension, and the more they converse about this, the further apart they get. So if you're following the thread here, that's happening. The more they talk, the further apart they get. Conversation makes everything worse.
And I think the epistemology is foundational to the worldview.
Well, and this is where I think you're jumping the gun, because what I see him doing is talking to people who have the epistemology and talking to people who disagree with it and doing what I think he does very well, actually, which is synthesize what he's encountering based on a sense that he's entitled to ask questions. And I think he frankly does a good job of sitting across the table and empathizing, right? He can see through your eyes for the hour or two that you're sitting across the table from him. So do I think there's a danger that there will be this concentrated thing that you see rising and that it will capture his attention, or something will happen to him that will cause him to default in that direction, or there will be a file folder with his name on it and somebody will push him in that direction? Sure, I think we all have to worry about that sort of thing.
Okay, we all have to worry about this danger. Then why are we talking about it? Like, seriously, like, universals are boring and like banal and vanilla and what like we all breathe oxygen. Yeah, I long conversations with my friends about, right now we're all breathing oxygen, but someday there might not be any. What are you doing? Like, why would you do this? Well, he's trying to bring his friend in. Like, oh yeah, I understand, my friend. I share your concern. No, you don't. That's not a real concern. No one shares that concern. It's a universal. Everyone already has it. You don't need to share it. It's universal. This doesn't make any sense. But he's trying to be kind and bring him in, and this is nonsense. It's a nonsense way to hang out with another person. Like, entirely. This is foolishness.
But do I think he's in the category now?
Would you
No.
have categorized, say, a typical journalist on CNN, say it's 2018-19, who decided just, to have interesting interviews and conversations with Robin DiAngelo and Ibram Kendi before anybody really knew who they were? Or do they qualify as part of this woke apparatus? Would you say that?
But are we getting
journalists-
into pre-crime here? Are we getting into pre-crime?
That's exactly
so is it? I understand that it might turn out that you're at some point extremely prescient, and this is embarrassing for us.
I'm actually
But-
10 years behind the curve, in my opinion. You think I'm way ahead.
Okay,
I think I'm 10 years behind.
But do you know what I mean? We can't.
Okay. Aside from the pre-crime argument, let me just explain something to you, son. A journalist having someone on, or someone being on, doesn't identify them as part of a group. Okay? People with bad ideas talk publicly all the time. All the time. I'll give you the easiest example. These 3 bad ideas. Just come, all 3 of them. Bad ideas. Bad ideas. Mike's got the best ideas. He's really on top of this. But still, bad ideas. This is the bad idea crew. They haven't defined a single term that they've used. Not one. 0 terms. 0 terms. And to the extent that they use, quote, definitions, like woke right, cancellation, didn't happen. Tucker Carlson, not canceling people. Well, then why are you calling woke right? None of this is rational. It's completely irrational talk. And that's why people get uneasy around this stuff, because this is crazy talk. And look, if these are the sorts of conversations you're having with the camera off, that's worse. Because then no one knows what a bad thinker you are publicly. Maybe they'll listen to you. Well, I sat down with my buddy, and for an hour and a half, we hashed out the woke right thing. Really? Because if this is what you mean by hashed out the woke right thing, then I get questions. The real problem is, would you have been able to identify these people? Yes. Yes. People like me were identifying these people in the early 2000s, James. You're not 10 years behind, right? You're a leftist. You just agreed with them until they got extreme. And they were always extreme. You just didn't notice. You let it slide. You did what Bret did earlier, which is, oh yeah, I kind of see your point. Oh yeah, you kind of have a point. Everybody has a point. I'm not interested in people having points. I've never met a man, woman, or child that didn't have a point. Okay? This is not an interesting, high enough bar to sort of, for me to use ever for anything. It's very emergence is good, or emergence is dangerous, or emergence, right? It's all kind of in here. This is what they're stuck with, because they don't have any standards coming down from above to use to judge. They have no emanation. It's all emergence and crazy talk.
We can't like spot patterns in people's tweets and then just call them.
Would you like to hear the story of the first time I decided to pay attention to these people?
Yes, but I want to answer your question first.
Oh, sure.
The journalist who does what you said is part of the apparatus, and in fact, the woke may take advantage of the journalist who's trying to get ahead by having the conversations. But no, I don't think these journalists are...
the fake news apparatus, right? The fake news media. And so I contend that at a bare minimum, though, I think he's adopted the epistemology, and we can disagree on that and be friends, that's fine. I think there's a fake news alt media as well, and I think that Tucker Carlson's central in that apparatus.
Wow. Okay. So Bret just gave a really good and clear example of, no, there's an apparatus and these people took advantage of it. That's actually correct. That's exactly how the news media works, right? Which is how, that's how they're supposed to work. Just the fourth estate was supposed to, and used to, right? You can see my follow Fourth Estate video. I'll link it here. But it used to work as a neutral apparatus that would report on events. It used to actually do that. Did it report on all events? No, because again, the same problem. There's too many events. You can't report on every firefighter that saves a kitten out of a tree. Like, that's not going to work. There's only so much time in the day, and you don't go there for a long exposition of all the news. You go there for the important news. Somebody has to make that decision. And so when the apparatus is being used and abused by other people, which it certainly was, that causes a problem. Now, what James has identified is two separate problems. One is what Bret was saying. Yep, they've been corrupted. But if you actually paid attention to CNN in particular, which I used to, there was a change of shift at CNN. People left. And then once certain people left, a bunch of other people left. And then once that happened, the epistemology is that they're identifying this. What they mean is ideology, right? I don't know why they're using some other term. It's ridiculous. The ideology took over because ideologues took over the institution. So two-pronged approach, fair. Maybe it was like, I don't, I'm not evil enough to be involved with these people, but two-pronged approach, right? First, they shift the narrative and then they infiltrate the organization. Very Saul Alinsky-like, by the way. That might be relevant here. I don't know. I mean, Carl Benjamin's great for this stuff. That could have happened, right? That's also a natural corruption process over time. People see something as having power or being a path to power, and then they use that, right? Now, when he says there's an alt-right media, there's no alt-right media. There are lots of people on YouTube. That's what there are. And they cannot replace correctly the news media apparatus. And guys like Daily Wire are doing a stand-up job of trying to, right? That's why they have off YouTube videos on their own platform, because that's what it would take to have an institution. You can't have an institution on an open platform. Those two things are mutually exclusive, right? So what he's describing is equality. It's like, oh, well, the lefties may do bad things, but the people on the right do equally bad things. It's like, well, then why are we talking about it? Like, if it's a universal, why are we discussing it at all ever? I don't understand. And this is the problem. He said, oh, clearly you can identify this. Well, you can identify a change, but you can't identify what caused the change because you weren't even there. You wasn't even paying attention. If you thought you couldn't identify a bad journalist by 2018, bro, I got news for you. I was doing that way before 2018. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You missed a lot. 10 years behind. That would be a blessing. And that's the problem. They don't know what they're talking about.
Not peripheral, central to the fake news alt media apparatus.
I personally don't think so.
That's fine.
Because,
Yeah, there's no question we're swimming in propaganda from every direction.
Well, we're swimming in propaganda from every direction. My question, and this is increasingly...
Okay. What's propaganda? Oh, okay. Right. Because you can remember earlier, they mentioned this. Like, oh, well, clearly, this news reporting is wrong or skewed or... by what standard? Who made you the judge? And what is your... fine. I mean, I'll make you the judge. What is your standard of judgment to make these determinations? I'm right here. Just tell me. Oh, you know what? They're not going to be able to tell me. Do you know why? Because they don't have one. They don't have a standard. They're just claiming that. This is why it's all propaganda. It's all propaganda because you guys can't draw lines and say this is good and this is bad. And so instead, you just say, what's propaganda? We're in the fog of war or some BS.
Like, the central question of my public life is who is actually on our side. And when I say our, I mean those who would defend the level playing field of the West. There are lots of people who will temporarily adopt that position because it advances their cause, but they're not committed to it in any deep way. And then there are a lot of people who are committed to it in a deep way. Very hard to tell the difference between those two things.
Let me just point some stuff out. So I have in fact used a level before. Okay, let me tell you who definitely has not used a level before. Bret has not used a level. So when you say level playing field, do you realize that you can be level at this height or this height or this height? Well, that's the first problem. Well, are they deeply committed? What do you mean, are they deeply committed? What would being deeply committed to a quote level playing? First of all, what's a level playing field? Where is it? Because this is the central problem, is the lack of vertical causality with these people. The bottom line is, in order to make everybody equal, you need to bring it to the lowest common denominator. Don't believe me? Read Harrison Bergeron. Great short story, Kurt Vonnegut Jr., if I remember correctly, right? Like, yeah, you need to bring everybody down. Of course you do. There's no other way for it. That's true in mathematics. I don't even know. These people like, schooling is great. Education is what it would be nice if you had an education and understood these very simple principles that I learned in high school, because I didn't go to college. So what's wrong with you? Why don't you know this? So we can't have a quote level playing field. It doesn't even make any sense. And by the way, while we're having a level playing field, who's holding up the playing field? Who's making sure it's level? Well, those people aren't on the playing field, and therefore, there's the problem right there. Hierarchy is real. It's older than trees. Jordan Peterson told me so, and I believe him. So there you go. Like, this shouldn't be that hard to work this through logically, that this idea of level playing field is already not viable, and he hasn't defined any of this stuff. What is level playing field? What is a deep commitment to it? What the hell are you talking about? And it's these people in academia. See my video on the collapse of academia. They did it to themselves. This is the fundamental issue. Who need that? Because otherwise they have no importance. Well, you did that to yourself. You have no importance because you're not important. Grow a bean. Like, do something useful. Sit on couches like a bunch of slouches and jibber jabber and not define your terms. Like, what are you doing? This isn't intellectualism. This is garbage. This is word salad. What do you mean level playing field? What are you talking about? If someone's committed to a level playing field, somebody has to level the field for you. They're not on the field. Then it's not a level playing field for everybody now, is it? Someone has to be beneath it, holding it up. Sounds like a form of slavery to me. Someone else has to measure it and tell the people holding it up, hold it up this way. No, move this way, whatever it is. Where are they? Who are those people? Right. This is the problem with these systems these people come up with in their heads. They're such individuals. They think like there's an outside natural order that's already sort of available to them, and that the only reason why it's not perfect in nature, right, they're just Rousseauians, and they probably haven't even read Rousseau. Or if they did, that's worse. Like, you read Rousseau and you didn't recognize your own argument is Rousseauian. Ooh, that's bad. Right? That if not for society, if not for these other people, the playing field would be naturally level. What are you talking about? No, it wouldn't. That's nonsense. And this is the problem. They're speaking nonsense. And to be fair, they're too stupid to realize it. It's sad.
Until something forces them to choose. But that's the question. Do I think Tucker is invested in the level playing field of the West? I do. Could I be wrong? Of course.
I think that this may be true, but I don't know that he has the same definition of the West that you do.
I don't think he would disagree with my definition. I'm pretty sure I've said it to him very directly, and he's resonated with it. So, again, I don't know. Frankly, I think the entire activist sphere is confused about how even to understand the game. We're so busy looking for phantoms, spooks, people who, come out of the intelligence apparatus, that we're not even aware that the intelligence apparatus probably isn't what we think it is. It's probably divided in particular ways. There may be elements of it that are patriotic, and they're
I've heard
absolutely
this very,
And
very
What the heck is this? On the one hand, he's not wrong. On the other hand, he doesn't realize the implications of what he's saying. Also, it's not a game. I don't understand why these people talk like this. What are they thinking to talk like this? But you'll notice he's so non-committal. He can't commit to anything. He hasn't committed to anything. Well, I don't even really know if Tucker. Well, he resonates with my idea of the West, I think. What do you operate on a daily basis? Like, seriously, what gets you out of bed in the morning and not just like laying in bed, woe is me, in despair? Like, I don't get it, man. Because, like, you don't seem to be able to take a stand on anything. Which, is typical leftist behavior. Fair enough. But also, what are you doing? What are you doing? You think he agrees with you about what the West is. And James is like, yeah, but you don't have the exact agreement. Sounds militant to me, James. James is very militant. True. Mike Nayna nailed it already. Fair. I gotcha. That's his militantism. Oh, he doesn't really agree with you. And then Bret, instead of saying, no, he agrees with me, why are you being a jerk? Which is what I would have said to James, quite honestly. I've talked to him and you haven't. How dare you presume that we don't agree when you weren't in the room? That's rude. That's just obnoxious. That's obnoxious behavior. You presumptuous, arrogant piece of garbage. You weren't even there. I've talked to Tucker and you haven't. Like, go away. Like, why is any of this acceptable behavior? That's my question. It's just impolite, if nothing else. If nothing, the nicest way to say this is James is impolite. You don't presume on behalf of somebody else about a conversation you weren't involved in and you hadn't previously discussed. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, his diet's bad, his posture's bad, his dress is bad, he's not well groomed, and he can't think straight, and he's rude and obnoxious and arrogant. I don't know. And all Bret can do is cower in the corner. Well, I really don't know. I don't know. Well, you don't know where you stand. Why are you talking? You shouldn't talk if you don't know where you stand. If you don't know where you stand on an issue, shut up about it. Everybody will be happier. You'll free up time. You can go do something useful.
And external state actors are involved in this now.
Right. And so the point is,
it's an absolute mess. The signal to noise ratio is
right. And
nowhere.
The point is, there's an exact analogy to the fog of war here, right? You really don't know for sure who's actually on your team and who's.
Didn't I say fog of war earlier in this video? It's weird. It's like I'm psychic. That must be. I must have a sixth sense. These people follow the same stupid pattern all the time. They are as predictable as the sun rises in the east. And fair enough if you can't do the trick or whatever, that's fine. Like, I get it. I can do the trick though. Like, this is just obvious to me. And yeah, the signal to noise ratio. Okay, your signal to noise ratio sucks. I get that. But given how you talk to each other, how could it be any other way? You won't draw hard lines and boundaries around anything. So you're always going to have a poor signal to noise ratio. That's a technical problem. That would happen in a radio receiver. That would happen in a computer program. That would happen in data analysis. That would happen in a spreadsheet. Like, yeah, if you don't draw boundaries, you're going to have problems sussing out data and noise because you don't have any filters, or your filters aren't good enough to do that work. I get that. You know what that makes you? That makes you a leftist. It doesn't make you anything else, but it makes you a leftist for sure. And yeah, you don't want to be associated with the crazy leftists who are militants like James is, as we've already established. Like, Mike said that, not me, man. Like, I'm just repeating what he said, right? Fair enough. And he's proven it by being militant about Tucker for no reason after his entire point has been destroyed. Fair enough. Like, he's militant. He's a leftist. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, leftism leads to being militant. Yes, it does. Okay. Like, could you guys stop doing that maybe? I don't know. That would be it's my first thing. Maybe stop being on the left. Take a stand. Get your signal to noise ratio under control like I have. Like, People who listen to this and hear things in it have no signal to noise filter whatsoever. Everything to them is noise, and they just make whatever sense out of it they can, and they call it signal. That's what that honestly, because this is all noise. These guys have not made a single thing make sense so far. Except for Mike. Mike is good at distilling things and pointing things out, but also he's not taking a stand. He called James militant. James doesn't seem to care, which is hysterical, because that's the way arrogant people are, right? You call them what they are, and they just go, yeah, so I don't care, right? They don't respond. Fair. James is pretty arrogant.
Just playing that way, and you have to begin to intuit it, and you have to that your meeting with the person doesn't tell you enough. You have to allow time to reveal the depth of their commitment, and you have to imagine that something that really wanted to fool you and had a very large budget, if somebody wanted to spend $10 million to create an unassailable person to put in your movement and then have them blow it up, at the very...
Also, you wouldn't even need to talk to people to signal boost. You just give them a Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? If someone matches your interests, you just fund them from afar.
Exactly.
And we all know that some of our income is coming from anonymous sources.
If somebody...
This is amazing levels of paranoia. Let me explain something to you guys. None of you are important enough to dump money into. None of you are influential enough. None of you. No one's doing that to you. Right? And you'll notice it can't be the fault of another person. Right? It can't be someone's mistaken and they actually have those beliefs and they actually want to infiltrate you to learn more about your movement. But they are opposed to it. Now that can't be it. They must be getting funded. Right? Because they don't want to blame other people. Because then they'd have to be mean to other people. And they don't want to be mean to anybody. They don't want to draw clear, bright lines. They don't want to get to the bottom of this stuff. They actually don't want to do that. Why, I don't know, because it's causing them nothing but problems, but they don't want to do that.
Somebody is paying attention.
You can just
yeah,
do this,
you can lure most people.
You
can actually Skinner box them into doing your bidding.
Yeah.
And
so
even just with likes and retweets.
And I think that's
yeah.
probably the sophisticated propaganda techniques that are going on now, more so than injecting spooks into festivals and things like that. I don't know.
I don't want to derail us, but what I would say is, I've probably talked to you about the time-traveling money printer idea. Idea that if you know what's coming historically, you're in a position to take millions and turn it into billions with trivial effort. Whatever our antagonist is made of, it has access to this time-traveling money printer. It knows about, surely not every event, but it knows about many events ahead enough that it can print money. And if you have an unlimited black budget that isn't subject to control by any entity that would tend to control it, you don't have to choose between Skinner boxing people with likes and,
But I think
Wow, that's dude, if I lived in that world, I would definitely off myself. That's amazing. That's remarkable levels of paranoia. That's like next level paranoia, right? That's just so fantasy thinking. As though money actually buys what you purchase with it. Do you know how many times I've been ripped off and bought something and then I just bought a bunch of hard drives and half of them were bad. They were like, oh no, these are brand new. They're not brand new, bro. They're all bad. Paying somebody doesn't guarantee anything. And if you're paying them anonymously, you can't guarantee their position. You can support them financially, and that's helpful. But somebody in the family dies, all the financial support in the world isn't going to help you. These guys just have a very small view of the world, and they're convinced that the world would be great if not for the money manipulating the world. And not even the people behind the money, because you notice they're not blaming any people for anything. Everything's like money and theoretical shadow groups and, all this weird conspiracy talk. Wow. Man, you go left, you go conspiracy every time. I don't know why, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Problem is talking about this as one thing.
Right.
I think there are so many interests now. It's almost like media got democratized, but so did propaganda. And so even on a one,
See, Mike comes out with these. The media got democratized or equalized or brought down, made accessible to more people, right? And now you just have more noise, right? Because you have more people. Like it's not like a difficult trigonometric math equation here, right? Yeah, you have more people in the media, and now you have more propaganda, of course. Because even if you have well-meaning people with good intention who agree with you, if they're incompetent, and most people are incompetent about most things, because that's just the way the world is, then they'll put out propaganda. Sure, absolutely. Any definition of propaganda, that would be true for, by the way. So I don't care what their definition of propaganda is, even though I know they don't have one, or at least I don't have a useful one. It's definitely the case that if you democratize something, you're going to get an effect like that. And because they're leftists, they can't, we made this equal and more accessible, and now we have more voices. We did that. We wanted that. Oh no, now we have a problem. They can't link those two things together, right? Because they're utopians. They want one thing without the other. And it's like, yeah, but you can't have those two things together. Sorry. You can't have like less propaganda and more people in the media. That's never going to happen. It's not possible to do that. Like, I'm sorry the world's that way, but so the world's that way. Like, can't fly without an airplane, really. I mean, or a helicopter or something, right? Like, you can't just levitate yourself. You can't, right? So, like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't understand. Like, it is what it is. Right? And their argument is always, without fail. Well, science one day, right, we're one finding away from, an anti-gravity machine, right? Which wouldn't fulfill what I said, which is you by yourself can't do this. Right. They just don't want to recognize constraint at all, ever. They want the world to be a fantasy world in their head that works the way it does in their head. Like, that's what they want. They don't want the world that they created to manifest the way it has manifested. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't have done that. Like, I don't know what else is like. Doing things as consequences. You wanted it this way, you got it this way. Oh, now you have all the bad stuff that comes with it. Oh, woe was me. Now we have to undo it, though.
one-to-one, like some of the guys that we're talking to at this festival itself are propagandists, and they're doing it off their own back. And so it's like so many people are in the propaganda game. This is why it's so confusing.
Well, this is what I'm saying about the fog of war.
Yeah, this is where we are.
And you know what it looks like? It looks like nature, right? If you walk into a tropical forest, that vine may be a snake. You need to actually focus on it to know what you're even looking at. Right, so
it's very McLuhan what you're saying.
So
there,
but the point is, the critters in such a forest operate, despite every creature that has an interest in doing so distorting their perceptions. The point is, it's an arms race. Can you untangle what's out there faster than it can tangle it? And that's where we are. And frankly, we have to get used to the idea that that's the skill we have to hone.
Well, there's a
What is he talking? Why is he making this a war? Like, these leftists, they're the warmongers. They love war. Like, why is he? It's a fog of war. Do you mean you need discernment to be in the world? Because that's what you described is, to be in the world, you need discernment. To be in nature, you need discernment. And like, we've created this comfortable bubble outside of nature called online. And it turns out, it's a jungle in there too. And what is it that made it that way, Bret? You made everybody equal. That's what made it that way. But they don't want that to be true, right? Because they think their success, such as it is tied up in that. And it's like, it doesn't have to be an arms race. You could say, you know what? I'm just going to walk through the jungle and let what happens happen. You can do that. In fact, that's what almost every single human being does all the time, including people who actually live in the actual jungle. It's not an arms race for the aboriginals in the Amazon. Like, it's not what it is. So I don't know why he's talking like this. This is crazy talk. This is actual unhinged talk. Both of them, unhinged talk. It's not a war. It's fine. This is how you know conservatives. Conservatives don't talk like this ever. They don't see the world as a war. They wouldn't see the jungle as an arms race. They wouldn't talk about the fog of war, and they don't have difficulty discerning these things at all. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sorry that Bret does. That must be a hard life, dude. It would be good if you were either away in an ivory tower, that's one option, or you were under the authority of somebody who just told you what to engage in and what not to engage in. That would solve the problem too. But Bret doesn't like either of those answers. Why? I don't know. He wants to be an individual. And there's the individualism all over the place. And then you've got to really see it. But if you notice, these three haven't actually agreed on anything. Not one single thing. Mike seems to have the clearest vision of what's being talked about and where. And he has the most centrist, we'll call it, position, the most moderate position, where he said, everyone's paid. Some people are, honestly coming by their propaganda. Fair enough. He's not able to draw any conclusions from that. None of them are able to draw any conclusions from any of the things they say. They're unable to attach the things they say to implications about what, if the things they say were true, what else would have to also be true. By the way, I have a video about that. Like, if this, what is it? If this, then what else, or something. Yeah, it's an important way to think, right? You have to know what are the implications of this statement. These guys have no sense of the implications of what they're saying, or they wouldn't talk about war. Why do leftists always talk about war? Everything's a war. Civil war, this war, that war. Oh my goodness, it's so tiring. War is when innocent people die as a result of combat. Are innocent people dying as a result of combat? Like, are there stray bullets or mortar shell? No, then it's not a war, okay? Like, just stop. Stop with the flattening of the world. I don't know why you're obsessed with war. Please don't. Like, choose peace. Seriously, choose peace.
Problem with the content treadmill as well. I don't know if we're getting off track here, but this is why I pull back from being on the internet. It's not good for my bank account, but being on that treadmill and having to talk about everything without sufficient time to figure out what's going on, I think it's a huge problem in all this.
Especially
too much information is like having no information at all.
Oh, the flood of information. That's right. There's a flood of information. Too much information is worse than having no information at all. Yeah, that's correct. Right? Because you're less likely to get caught in analysis paralysis. If you have no information, you'll just go along your day and do your thing. If you don't think of being in a war all the time, you can just act in the world and go get milk and bread at the store. It's not a problem. If you think of everything as a war and you're like looking for snakes on every vine, yeah, your life is hard, man. I get it. Also, you did that to yourself, so I don't feel bad for you. I'm just going to be like, that sucks to be you. And I'm going to go about my day. Good luck. But I like what Mike said. Like, yeah, too much information, not good. Somebody has a video on that, I'm sure.
Very dangerous.
We don't even have the thing that
And deranging.
scares me is there needs to be the equivalent of a site where we can simply have a chronology of events that we agree took place, right? Things that were said, things that happened, this country attacked that country, just so that we can all reference a shared factual narrative and then talk about all of our different perspectives on what it means. But the fact that you don't have that means an event can happen. The algorithm doesn't show it to you because it doesn't find you interested in it at best. And then it's like everybody else is up to date on the fact that something occurred that was very important and you've never heard of it. Like, that's bewildering.
It's like an ape.
Oh, we need a site. Where would the site come? Sites are magic. They're part of objective material reality, I guess. This is objective material reality talk right here. We need a site. And then we all agree. Well, how would that work? Like, first of all, who sets up the site? Who runs the site? How do we decide what facts go again? Like, are we going to put all the wars in Africa on the site? Because I see this is the problem, right? Bret's world is extremely small, like really small. And so, what on the one hand, he's complaining about, having information sequenced. On the other hand, he's complaining about not having access to important information. And it's like, but all the information in the world is important in the context that it's in. Determining that context is actually not that easy, by the way, because there isn't an objective material reality from which you can judge. That's the problem. See the objective materiality problem? And then what he wants is not an algorithm. Like, oh, heaven forfend, we have an algorithm to filter the information and just give us the important stuff, the stuff we'd be interested in. Like, he's the one that said this. Like, oh no, not an algorithm that gives us what we're interested in, but an algorithm that gives us a bunch of stuff that's in a timeline on a magical site that no one runs and no one's authoritative over, that we agree on somehow through magic, I guess, because do we vote? Who's the we? Right? It can't be everybody in the world. Ain't no one got time for that. Some people have to grow your food. Some people have to keep the electricity on so that you have your stupid site. Somebody has to run the site. They're not voting. They're running the site. What? This is so ridiculous. This is a ridiculous way to talk about the world. Like, what do you mean a site? Like, how does that work, dude? There's so much information out there. You put everybody on the internet. What did you think was going to happen? Like, you didn't think this through at all, did you? You put 2 billion people on the internet. Did you think that somehow it would self-organize? I mean, it has into little tribes, which have their own little information bubbles, which you're now complaining about. There's no pleasing these people.
It's like the AP wire that's actually functional, is what it would be.
Exactly.
It's
So we had that, and we did away with it, or it became corrupt. And the answer, which occurs to me immediately, but apparently freaking no light bulbs here, guys. There's no light bulbs in this place. There's no light bulbs, right? It occurs to me, maybe we should just fix that. So we had it, and it worked, and just exactly what you're describing. But we're not going to come to the obvious conclusion of maybe we just need to repair that one. No. We need some new site that's an objective material reality. And it's just magic. Like, these guys are mystics.
What journalists used to use, although it was still propaganda when
these things never worked as they should have, but they were good enough for at least us to have a conversation that we now can't have. And I think part of what we're discovering here, and I do at the end of this want to come back and figure out what we learned, but
okay. So they never worked the way they were intended, but they were good enough. Are you saying we live in an imperfect world and we're imperfect people? Because that's all I heard. Maybe you heard something else, but I'm telling you, that's all he said. Was, we had this great ideal and we tried to implement it, but because we suck, because we do suck, and because the world sucks, because the world does suck, it was good enough. Oh me, oh my, it wasn't perfect. Whatever shall we do? And the answer still isn't, well, let's fix it and make it better. Why isn't that your answer? What is wrong with your brain? Seriously, what is wrong with your brain that your answer isn't, let's fix the AP wire and make it as good as it was before to the standard of good enough? Okay, at least we'd have a starting point for a freaking conversation about something we could do in the world. But I will tell you one thing, my friends. These three, never going to be a thing they do in the world. It might be a thing they want magically other people to do in the world. Do you know what that's called technically? That's slavery. That's what that's called. Oh, I have this idea. I want you to implement it. I'm sure you do, bro. I have my own ideas that I want to implement, though. And it's my labor, so goodbye. And you're lazy, so you're not going to do it anyway. Or incompetent, or usually both. You're not going to do it anyway. So I can understand why you're upset about the world, because you're lazy and incompetent and you have ideas. Maybe you stop having ideas. Maybe you should just do what you're told, because it's all you're good for. Sorry, there's a lot of people. Some people are only good to say, would you like fries with that? And given the fact that fast food restaurants, especially post-fake news virus scam, have gone straight downhill for the most part, a lot of people can't even handle that. Like, that's the world we live in. right? It's a very imperfect world, my friends. Very imperfect. But you know what? It's actually good enough. Just as Bret said. She's not happy with it because he wants some ridiculous idealistic standard.
One of the things that we're discovering is that there's something profoundly important about the novelly unique version of history that we personally are experiencing, which may show us something that others can't see, and they may come to regard us as having lost our minds when in fact, you know, no, I actually did see the aliens land in my driveway and nobody else saw them, and now I have to live with the knowledge that there are aliens and everybody else is like, that's nice, you know?
Yeah.
What is wrong with this guy? Novelly unique. Oh, okay. Novelly unique, huh, Bret? English much, bro? Is that optional? Englishing? Do you Englishicize? Do you Englishicize, bro? I Englishicize. Novelly unique. Really? It's fantastic. Oh, version of history. What? What are you talking about? What do you mean, version of history? So you're saying that everyone's got a unique perspective on the world? I already knew that somehow. I don't know how. Stunning. I came to a conclusion of my own. And Bret's struggling with this? He's saying we're coming to this now? Where have you been? Like, from the time you were born, where have you been? Like, you're just figuring this out now? What? Like, were you in the tallest tower of the ivory tower? Like, what happened? You're just figuring this out now. That people have their own individual, unique perspective. Really? It's unbelievable. This is the most stunning revelation of my life. How does everybody not know this already? Why is this something we're like struggling with or coming to realize recently? Not me, brother. Like, I'm sorry. That's your situation. But also, that's your situation. It ain't my situation, kid. I hate to break it to you. Wow. That I'm sorry, but like, I was not, I know, I always get surprised by these things. I gotta stop, but I can't envision a world where people don't realize things like this. Yes, you're trapped in your body. You have a unique perspective because only one person can occupy the same time and space. Right? And sure. I get it. I kind of knew that from a young age. I don't know. I mean, the implications are, though, and see, this is where they never go because they can't do the vertical causality and they can't connect things correctly, right? Like, that means there's people you should be listening to because they have a superior perspective to yours. And those are the people you should seek out. Right. And it won't be the same person for everything. Right. Oh, it's almost like there's a set of hierarchies and institutions we need to survive. Almost as if. I don't know.
So, okay. Were you headed somewhere?
No, I was. If you wanted the story of how I first caught wind of these guys or became aware of them, well, outside of the vague, alt-right of the first Trump election.
So, maybe then before we do that, let's collect our gains.
Okay.
Okay. I think Mike and I both have the sense that you are seeing something, that it is worth being alarmed over, but that you're very early in spotting it, and that maybe, I'm now speaking for myself, you say if you agree, that you may be jumping the gun on both the ability to define it and the understanding of how likely that trajectory is to unfold in some sort of nightmare scenario.
And also the problem of legitimate grievances. Like, I think there's a real problem with smearing, going too scattergun approach, and then taking down people that need to be heard. Because I think that's a way to radicalize people, and so.
Well, and this is one of the things about woke, which I sometimes felt like the lone voice saying this, but you have a terrifically unfair society. Part of the responsibility for that falls on the right. the imagining that the market is fairer than it actually is, imagining that externalities and unlevel aspects of the playing field are a minor player rather than the dominant force. Basically, you know, if rent seeking is 70% of the profit made in the market, and your free market mythology says it's 10%.
You're doing your Gen X.
This is remarkable. I mean, I don't know how Bret knows all this. He must be the smartest person alive. First of all, that's not, the right didn't do that. Like, I don't know where he's coming up with this nonsense. The right didn't do that. Okay? The right built everything because the left can't build anything. Just sorry. You don't like the way it's built, maybe you should build your own thing. Oh, that's the internet. Right. And now you're complaining about the thing you built. Because you guys didn't build anything, you just like glommed on to things that people on the right built. That's actually what happened, technically. You can see it all over the place. And so, or to the extent the left builds stuff, it blows up immediately. Clubhouse did that, right? Clubhouse blew up immediately. Just had 1, maybe 2 good years, and then completely of a freaking boom, blows up. MySpace, same thing, right? Blows up. These things blow up. So, what a ridiculous. There's another possibility here. Maybe James is paranoid, and that's why he looks like a slob. Because he's paranoid. He's not identifying anything except the stuff that's there all the time, because it's a high signal to noise situation for him. Oh, the signal I got was that I got canceled by some weird definition of canceled that we haven't given, by the way, because I wasn't allowed to speak on a campus to 50 people. Oh no. I wasn't allowed on that podcast with 1,000 viewers. Oh no. On an internet with 2 billion people. Oh no. Okay, fine. You were canceled because you basically told people they shouldn't pray publicly for the world. Okay, dude. Can't imagine. I mean, if that's your standard for canceled, then fine. Everybody who gets fired is canceled. I don't care. I'm not interested. Like, I'm just not interested. But it could just be that because he's sensing a high signal to noise ratio in his personal life, he's casting that on the rest of society and calling it woke right. And that conveniently for his ego allows him to be angry at whoever he wants and accuse them of being woke right, like the people that canceled him. And aren't they mean? Now, psychologically speaking, I'm just going to tell you that's a more likely answer. It's a more likely answer. And that's because that's what's happening here. Very clearly, that's what's happening. He's paranoid because he got a strong signal from a group of people, right? He's completely misread, that he's cast in all of this really binary, bizarre, overly simplistic framing, low resolution. And now he's angry about it, right? Because it threatens his well-being. Fair enough. And he's casting it on random people on the internet, basically, right? He went after Jonathan Peugeot. He went after Carl Benjamin. He went after Tim Pool. And all they're trying to do is understand his perspective because they like him. And now he's turned them all into enemies. Good job, James. And all because of his own personal paranoia. And that's what happened. I wouldn't have said that before this, but like, pretty clear. It's exactly what's happened. And the solution for Bret is somehow not fix the AP, which worked well enough, but we need a platform with a sequence that we all agree on. Like, these people are bizarre to me. Like, they're bizarre to me. I don't know how I could ever talk to any of them because they just say weird things that don't make any sense. And they don't seem able to make very basic, simple, logical connections of things. Like, if you had the thing and it worked well enough, and the thing you're doing now isn't working, maybe going back to that thing is a good idea because it worked well enough. And what you have now isn't working. Like, is that really not the immediate conclusion? Because for me, it is. Like, it's pretty straightforward and simple that should be the conclusion. But Bret and Mike and James never get there. And so far, other than like Tucker Carlson, Groypers, and Christian nationals, we still don't know who the woke right is, or how to identify them from people that aren't in the woke right, because apparently just having free and open conversations with people isn't enough, because they might cancel you someday or something. I don't know.
Economic left thing. Don't try and salvage the identitarian. Sometimes economic left
Well, I mean,
salvages absolutely insane people who are ruining everything.
Tell me that this is not a correct perspective.
Yeah.
If the idea that saves us is the level playing field in which everybody has an investment in playing the cards they are dealt because the playing field is level enough that that's actually a good move that's likely to work, then the point is the thing that takes us back and forth between some sort of communist meltdown and a fascist meltdown stops. So from the point of view of what the objective of the exercise ought to be, I think it is getting rid of that oscillation between these two impulses. The level playing field is what does it, and that means the playing field has to be sufficiently level that people are better off playing the cards they're dealt than overthrowing the system.
Holy macaroni. This is bizarre from a leftist. The whole leftist thesis is some people are dealt bad cards and we need to help them out. That's the whole leftist thesis. What do you mean playing this? This is so unbelievably weird. Who's running the level playing field, Bret? Who's holding it up? Who's managing it? Who's doing these things? They're not on the field. How is this accomplished? You're complaining about a problem you created by saying some people are dealt bad cards and we need to do stuff for them. And then the conservatives, because they're not retarded and they're not mean, go, yeah, you're right. We need to do that. Let's implement something. And the Democrats go, oh, no, you can't implement it that way. You have to implement it our way because we're retarded and incompetent. And some of us are evil. That's a better explanation, bro. Like, I don't know where you're getting this from. This is just, I don't know. It's shocking. It's sad. It's frustrating. Play the card you're dealt instead of trying to overthrow the system. What are you doing? Because you're the one trying to overthrow the system. So this is a little weird. Like, oh, I can't play the cards I'm dealt. I have to overthrow the system, I guess. Well, why can't you play the cards you're dealt? And if you can't play the cards you're dealt, then maybe what you're trying to do is just something you can't do. Did you think about that? Was that anywhere on the radar? No, it's I can do anything. I don't know. I think you just have a bad hand and no amount of leveling the playing field is going to help you. I think we need to rebuild the ivory tower and keep you there safely out of public view where you can't do anything but damage. Because that's what you guys are doing. And in your cries for equality, which is what a level playing field is, you're destroying the world and overthrowing order. Because if everything's equal, there's no need for order anymore. It's just that this is Marxism all over again. The level playing field. Who's holding up the field? Who's determining what's level and what's not? What height is the field at? Right. These things are not that easy. Like, he likes to just glibly say, oh, level playing field. We need to make a level playing field. Right. So on the one hand, there's people making the field and they're making it not level. And on the other hand, everyone needs to be on the level playing field. Well, there's a contradiction there, dude. Like, if somebody's managing the field, then they're not on the field. And maybe they've been dealt the cards that give them that ability. And maybe you haven't. And maybe that's what you're complaining about. because I don't know what else you could be complaining about. But if you can work it out logically for me, please do. I'd love to hear how my logic might be flawed. Like, I'd love to. The problem with these sorts of arguments is that every time I've gotten in them, and it's probably thousands of times by this point, because honestly, these are not new conversations for me. I've been having since I was like 17 years old. The problem is answers are always not there. Always not there. Except when I was very young and learning, my logic is not flawed. Sorry. It's really not. Because it's not that hard. Logic's easy. Logic's really easy. I'm a computer programmer, among other things. Logic's really easy for me. I do it all the time. It's my bread and butter. So, I mean, we can play this game if you want. I like to win, but also, unless you like to lose, I got news for you. You're not making any sense. You're being illogical, irrational, and unreasonable in your request. You're not understanding how this works. If the thing you say is true, why would they change? Why are they threatened by you? You're on the level playing field that's not as level as you want, and they're not. You can't touch them. You can only make your own life worse, which is really what these guys are doing. And again, the danger is repeat a lie often enough and people start to believe it. Well, these guys are the poster children for that. So look, I got to end it there. I'm sorry, I didn't think it was going to be 4 parts at all. I thought 3 for sure. And this is just rich in bad thinking, poor logic skills, contradictions, just disagreement, flat world thinking, equality doctrine. Like, it's all here and it's all sad. But I appreciate you watching because I really do value your time and attention.